Hey guys, Travis here with Real Estate Investing Tips. This is the start of your course. Without further ado, let's get started with lesson 1. This is the wholesaling fundamentals. If you have no idea what wholesaling is and you're like, I've heard somebody do it or talk about it, it looks like it's a simple way to make money, I'm interested. The pure basic beginning, the easiest way to explain what wholesaling is you are the wholesaler. You're getting a property under contract for an extremely discounted cost. So you're getting a property under contract. You're finding someone who is what we call a cash buyer, someone who buys houses, fixes them up, and for the rental portfolio, or they fix them and just to flip them for a profit. So you're simply playing middleman. You yourself are getting a property under contract for a certain amount of money, and you're saying, hey, you cash buyers, do you want to have this property? And so you're just playing the middleman there. And how do you make money? Because you're getting a property for this example's sake, you're getting a property for $100,000, but you're telling the cash buyer the property is $110,000. They're going to say yes, which means you just made a $10,000. And of course, if they get the property, you made a $10,000 deal from literally being the middleman. Just saying, I'm going to get this under contract. I'm going to charge you for this. You being the middleman, you made $10,000. That in itself is the simplest, for me, explanation what wholesaling is. But there's a lot that goes into it, and I mean a lot. If you think that you can just put 5 minutes into this a week and make $10,000 a week doing it, no. You're gonna have to put some time into it, which is why I'm gonna go through the steps here for wholesaling for beginners. So kicking things off, there are 4 terms. There's probably actually a lot more than this now. Terms that people say when they're referring to wholesaling. The ones I hear the most is wholesaler, of course. You have snap flipper, quick flip, ABC deal. ABC deal is kind of what I just explained, is just the middleman. A, the person selling the house. B, middleman. And then C, the cash buyer. That's an ABC deal. They're all the same thing. So no matter which one you hear, don't get confused. It's all the same thing. 5 major components of wholesaling. You have the motivated seller. Now you got to find a motivated seller, because if you're just finding a seller, they're not going to sell you their property at less value than what it actually is. They're going to get their value out of it. But if somebody has some outside scenario that's motivating them to sell, well, they're going to accept a less than what it's worth, which is where you come in as a wholesaler. Second one, of course, self-explanatory. We already went that. Wholesaler. Cash buyer, the person that is buying the property that you are signing the contract to after you get under contract. The lender, the person that if somebody is doing hard money loans, it's lending them money. And then closing attorney / title company, the people, the locations, and the people that will be assisting you with the closing process, depending on what kind of close you're going to be doing and what state you live in as well. There's different rules for different states. 3 types of sellers. Here's the people that want to sell. What does that mean? So if I'm just casually interested in changing and maybe upgrading my house or moving somewhere else, I want to sell my house. Let's do that. Let's sell my house and let's do something else with it. No motivation whatsoever, just the desire to. Need to sell. Okay, maybe something happened where they go, okay, I need to sell this house. Maybe someone in the family died and then you inherited a house. Well, you don't need 2 houses, so you're going to need to sell that second house, so you're not just holding on to it. Need to sell. And lastly, have to sell. These are people that have to sell their house. They're already in a life-altering situation that's put them in a situation where they have to sell their house in general, but they know if they don't sell their house, even worse things are going to happen to them. Foreclosure, for an example, if you go through foreclosure, if you didn't know this already, your credit will be tanked. Not so bad that it's near impossible to recover from it. So you want to avoid going in foreclosure by selling a house before it gets to that point. So if you have a 2-week window before your house goes in foreclosure, you better sell that house in 2 weeks or else your credit score is going to get tanked. These are people that have to sell their house. These are the people you need to be targeting when you're doing your wholesale offers. Can you target someone who needs to sell their house? Yes. Need, have. The people that want to, don't bother sending offers to them, because 99 times out of 100, if not 100 times out of 100, they are not going to accept an offer that's less than the value of their house because they just want to. They're not motivated. There's no outside motivation there. 5 main triggers of a motivated seller, the 5 Ds. We have debt, death, divorce, drugs, and disaster. Debt, of course, is most common. Just going back to the foreclosure side of things. Death, if you are inheriting a house from a family member or anybody that's sending you a house that has passed away, well, like I said before, you don't need 2 houses. I need to sell this house because I don't need 2 houses. Or if you are living in a house with someone and your spouse passes away, well, maybe you can't afford the payments to the house now that you don't have 2 incomes coming in, and you got to downgrade due to the unfortunate situations. So you're going to need to sell your house. Divorce, same concept that I said there with death. If you get divorced, the divorce attorney's like, okay, you guys got to sell the house and split the profits. So they're going to need to sell the house. Drugs, that's a slightly broad one. There's a lot of things that can happen there. The house itself could be a drug house that was taken over. Disaster can be, it can be emotional disaster, physical disaster, natural disaster. There's so many things that can plug into disaster. But yeah, something disastrous has happened where they have to get rid of this house. 2 types of cash buyers. There are the whales. Whales is one of my favorite terms. Full-time flippers, people that do this with their eyes closed. They flip sometimes multiple houses at a time, and they've done they don't have to have done a lot. They just are doing a lot of them. Full-time flippers we call whales, and these are the ones that you need to be targeting to add to your cash buyers list. Mom and pops are pretty common. What is a mom and pop? People who have saved up a lot of money and they're doing other things in their life, but they go, we saved up this money. Let's spend this summer, fixing and flipping a house. So it's something that's more of, it's a little more casual, where they maybe only are going to do one a year. Maybe they're only going to do one in their lifetime. And what you don't want to do is get a cash buyers list full of all these mom and pops, where you have like 100 mom and pops cash buyers, and you're doing all the hard work. You're getting all these houses under contract. You're sending them all of these marketing emails saying, hey, I have this house. Do you want it? Hey, I have this house. Do you want it? And they're like, no, that's not the one we want. Because they're in their mind, maybe they're only thinking that they're going to do one. So they want to have this perfect house that they're thinking about. And you're just wasting your time and getting all these houses under contract for nothing, when there's money to be made on every single one of them. Target the whales, avoid the mom and pops. There's 3 ways to close a deal. You have the title company. You can close the deal at a real estate attorney office or a title and attorney. Like I said, I'm not going to go into too much detail on this one because it is state specific, something that you have to look into. Some states require both. Some states require one or the other. So for your state, no matter where you live, look where the closing has to take place. 5 types of wholesale transactions. Minor cosmetic. If a house needs a minor cosmetic update, it's pretty much the house could be just old and it just looks like it's from the 70s, and you just want to bring it to 2020s. New flooring, new appliances, maybe new cabinets. These are just kind of the minor cosmetics. The most common, major cosmetic. You need to do a lot more. Maybe the entire house needs a new repipe or new electricity or electric, or anything like that. Just a little bit more. And then maybe the roof as well as another fee on top of that. So these are, when it gets more costly, it's not just kind of updating the house, it's actually fixing things in the house. That's when it gets to major. Gut job, everything in the house gets taken out. The walls get taken out, where all you have is the frame, and you just rebuild the house from scratch using the frame that exists. Add-on would be adding square feet to a house. So if a house, depending on how it's zoned, you see there's a possibility of adding square feet and spiking up the value. That's an option. And then a tear down. Even if you did everything in your power as a flipper to rehab a house to make it look as good as new, just the bones are so bad, or it's just such an old house, you actually increase your value by just bulldozing the house, tearing it down completely, and then building on your plot of land that you pretty much own now, a brand new house, 2020 house, and ARVs through the roof. Earnest money is something that I feel like a lot of people who are not even day one, like pre-day one beginners of wholesaling, don't fully understand. There's a lot of things out there saying how to start flipping houses with $0, how to start wholesaling for $0. Yes, in a sense, you are playing the middleman. You're finding a contract and you're just saying, hey, you want this contract, and you make money in the middle. But there is something in the middle there called earnest money that you have to make sure that you have. So it's not $1 million you need to do this. Earnest money is the down payment. So just use an example again. If I'm offering $100,000 for this one property, and the owner says, yes, I will sell you this house for $100,000, we now have a contract, a legal contract that says that I'm the only person that has a legal ability to buy this house. But as soon as that's accepted, I have a small window here to put down earnest money, which shows that I'm serious and I'm just not pulling your leg. That I'm going to buy the house. I'm serious, so I'm going to put $1,000 down, just $1,000. Putting $1,000 down, and it goes to the title company. That's saying I'm serious about buying this house. It's kind of just it's just a necessity. It has to happen. It's a thing that has to happen. So, moving on to the next part, the inspection window. Well, this is to me, one of the most important things about wholesaling that you have to make sure you pay attention to as if your life depends on it. This is how you can possibly lose money in wholesaling. So going back to my example, I'm offering a contract for $100,000. They said yes. I sent $1,000, wire $1,000 to the title company. So I now have that binding contract. What happens next? Depending on what my inspection window was when I created this contract with my realtor or my real estate agent, when they submitted it, it depends on what the contract says for your inspection window is your inspection window. Some people do 5, some people do 7, 10. I don't know if it's a national thing or if it's just a Florida thing where I'm at, but I think 15 days might be the max. 10 to 15 I feel like is more average. When you get shorter, it's not really in your favor to do that. You want to make sure you have at least 10 days on there. But why? Why do you want to make sure you have 10 to 15 days? The inspection window is how much time you have as a wholesaler to find a cash buyer and not lose any money. So I'll go more into detail on that. So I got a house, got a contract, $100,000, put $1,000 deposit to the title company, and let's say my contract said, let's just use 10 days. Let's say it says 10 days inspection window. Now, contractually, what does that mean to the person selling me the house? Okay, let's give the buyer 10 days to send an inspector to the house, to look through everything in the house they need to make sure that they still want to buy the house. So that's what they think is happening during this time. But what's actually happening is you are sending your marketing emails out, your social media blast out left and right to all of your cash buyers that you have added to your list, and maybe a ton of cash buyers that have yet to join your list, trying to find just one that wants to buy your house for, let's just say $110,000. Because like I said, you have to have more. You have to be marketing it for more than what you bought it for, or else you don't have any money in there you're making. So you $100,000. Hey, you cash buyers, all you guys, $110,000 for this property. Who wants it? Well, if somebody says yes, and they go through the process of you assigning the contract to them, well, you are going to be making, depending on how much you sold it for, let's just use 110 again. You're going to make it $10,000 by just offering a house or offering a contract on a house, putting your initial refundable deposit on the $1,000 there, finding someone to pay $10,000 more than what you agreed to, and you're making $10,000. So it's, in that sense, it's simple, but there's so much work that comes into getting a house under contract that actually is going to make you money and also the cash buyer money. So what happens if you don't find one cash buyer to say, yes, I want this house for $110,000 in that 10-day window? Well, at day 9, you're probably freaking out saying, oh, holy crap, I thought this was an amazing deal. I thought everybody would jump on it. Nobody's biting on it whatsoever. Nobody's interested. Well, what do? Well, if you don't find someone within that inspection window, you tell your real estate agent who put in the offer for you, like, hey, we need to get out of this deal. I can't find, assuming they know that you're trying to wholesale it, which we'll get to later on in the lesson. I can't find anybody to assign this contract to. We're gonna have to get rid of this contract. So then they're gonna submit a cancellation notice to the contract saying the buyer is opting out within their allowed 10-day inspection window. Contract is canceled, and then you get your $1,000 back from the title company. So it's simply that's wholesaling in itself. Trying to find a property that you can buy for an extremely discounted rate, finding someone to pay for that not the exact same cost, at a higher cost, but still enough room for growth once they fix it up and sell it that they're interested in wanting to buy it, and then doing all that within this inspection window. So I put that safe little icon on there because it's safe. As long as you are doing everything by the book in terms of having the contract written up the correct way, canceling a contract if you don't find a buyer by the end of your inspection window, because if you wait after that, you're legally out of $1,000. They don't legally have to give you back anything, the title company. But yeah, so that's the end of lesson number 1. I really hope you learned something there. Take notes if you forgot to take notes, if you forgot something about it. As long as you have access to this video, watch the video as many times as you need to. Take notes over and over and over again. If you thought you missed something, go back, take some more notes. I'll see you again in lesson number 2. Hey guys, welcome back. Lesson number 2 here, funding in real estate. This is probably, I think, the shortest lesson out of all of them, so let's get right to it. So there are four main types of funding in real estate. First, we have transactional funding. So what is transactional funding? So if you are doing the assignment of contract type of wholesale, which is what we talked about lesson 1, you get a house under contract, you find somebody that wants to have the house, you assign the contract to them. So if you get a house under contract, that means you have the only person in the world that has the legal ability to purchase this property. If you assign that contract to a cash buyer, they are now the only person that has the legal ability to buy the property. So you are not buying a house with, your actual real money or anything. You're just committing to buying a house and then sending that commitment to someone else, or someone's buying that commitment from you. That's the assignment of contract. Now there's another one called same day close or double close. Those are the two terms I hear the most. If you are in a situation where you have to be the one closing on the property and then quickly, even the same day, sell it to someone else, that's what it's called, a double close, a back-to-back close. And for situations, the only thing that pops into my mind at the moment are like getting houses that are foreclosed upon, or houses from banks. You can't buy it. You can't get a assignment of contract. You can't get an assignable contract from a bank and then assign it over to someone else. There's different rules and regulations that go with the bank stuff. So you would actually have to be in person closing on the house with the representative from the bank on that REO, real estate owned property, or a bank foreclosed upon property. You were actually buying the house, and then the same day you were even as soon as that's done, turning around and then selling the house to the cash buyer. So you're actually doing, instead of being as easy as sending a piece of paper over to someone saying, hey, here's the contract, I'm now assigning it to you legally, you actually are purchasing the house, and then you are going to be selling the house immediately following that. And so what happens if you have a house and you don't have the funding to do it? If you're buying a $100,000 house, what if you don't have $100,000? Is it still possible? Yes, with transactional funding. So there's companies out there that will say, we will give you the $100,000 you need. Of course, there's a lot of paperwork that has to go into this, but you are saying, I'm buying this house for $100,000. A transactional funder or lender, you know what I meant. A transactional lender will say, okay, we will put the $100,000 in your account, and then immediately that same day, or within maybe a 24 to 40 hour window, I think 48 hours is the cap on most of them, then we expect this much money back. But of course, they're going to have a percentage on there. They're not going to just give you money just so you can get right back to them. They're not going to make anything. So you want to make sure that the cost of doing this kind of funding still gives you a profit on top. So let's just say, in general, for argument's sake, the cost to have somebody assist on the funding when you have to be there and actually buy the property and then immediately sell it to the cash buyer, then it's going to cost you, let's say, $2,000 after you calculate the interest or whatever on it. That's a $2,000 charge. Okay, so as long as you're making more from how much you offered for the house to how much you're getting from the cash buyer than $2,000, then you make a profit. So if we use the example from lesson 1, I buy the house for $100,000. Cash buyer is going to be buying the house for $110,000. I'm making $10,000, but if I don't have the money to do, and I have to do one of these kind of deals, these double closes or back-to-back deals, then I have to use transactional funding. So I'm giving up $2,000 to make this deal happen. I'm still making $8,000 in this deal. So that's what transactional funding is. Now, gap funding is if you're getting a hard money loan to flip something. So typically when you're paying all cash, when you need to pay all cash for a property, if you are the cash buyer, so let's say I'm a cash buyer, I get a wholesale property from someone who wholesale it to me, and they assign it to me, whatever, and I want to get a hard money loan on it. Maybe I don't have the funds, or I just don't want to use all my funds on it. I'll get a hard money loan, which is a lender that typically loans to people who are looking to fix and flip a house. And then if I want, let's say the total cost of the house plus the rehab, so all inclusive, it's $150,000. So it's a $100,000 house, it's a $50,000 rehab, $150,000 total. Let's say that the hard money loan is only $100,000 of that. Okay, well, maybe I don't want to spend $50,000. I don't have $50,000. which I need for the rehab, then I'll get a gap funding. So gap funding pretty much covers what a hard money loan doesn't, in a sense. It can be used a few different ways, but that's kind of the gist of the main one. Fix and flip funding, that's the same thing as a hard money loan, where you are getting a loan. Typically, it's a 12-month contract. Of course, hopefully, you're not doing a flip that's going to take 12 months, because that is, depending on the situation, that more often than not is not a successful flip. Typically, you want to aim for that 3-month, if you are going to be flipping houses, you want to aim for like a 3-month turnaround. So you're not spending a lot of money on the holding costs, on the interest payments, on the insurance payments, on the taxes, and all that stuff. So they'll give you a contract for, a 12-month contract, and knowing that you were going to be buying it, rehabbing it, and then selling it. So that's they structure the contract that way. Because if you do what the last one is rental, it's gonna be a completely different structured contract. They're like, okay, we'll give you funding for years, not just 12 months, and it'll be structured different ways. But those are the main ones, types of funding there. So let's move on right now to the MAP, the minimum acceptable profit. Now, these numbers are not set in stone, but it's just something you want to have in the back of your mind. What kind of profit can you be expecting from doing this, this, or this, or this? Okay, let's look at wholesale on market. Well, what does on market mean? On market are things that are already registered and listed on the MLS. They're things that you see that they're for sale on the MLS, on Zillow, on Realtor.com, Redfin, any of these other real estate sites. On market means that it's public knowledge these houses are currently for sale. That is on market. So those you should be expecting a whole lot less as a wholesaler to get them. So if this house is listed online, the person selling it, it's listed for $120,000, but I offer $100,000 and they accept it, even though it was listed $120,000. I now have a $20,000 difference, but that is an on-market property. Why is it less? Because they already know the value. They're not necessarily, they could be motivated. It could be a fixer-upper. There's a lot of things that go into it. But with that $5,000 there, the $5K you see there at the end, that is how much you should be mentally expecting, if you will, on a wholesale deal. Can you get less than that? Yes. Can you get a whole lot more than that? Oh, yes. But 5K is kind of just the minimum acceptable profit. So in this deal I mentioned, where I'm getting a house for $100,000, I'm selling that house for $110,000. If it was an on-market deal that I got for that, then I made $10,000. So I actually got more than that. Now, wholesale off-market are houses that are not publicly listed for sale. They're not listed for sale anywhere. They're not on the selling market. You are reaching out to someone. So maybe you are reaching out to someone who just inherited a house, and you're reaching out to them before they try to put it on market, or you're reaching out to someone in pre-foreclosure trying to save their credit history from being tanked in the foreclosure period. These are houses that people have not listed yet. They're not more often than not, in my experience, there's not a realtor or real estate agent that they've connected with yet. They could have, maybe, who knows, but they're not listed publicly for sale. So you can offer them, and typically you'd be offering them less of a gap from the value, or further away from the value, because if they say yes, then you know that they are a motivated seller. And so if you're doing, dotting all your I's, crossing all your T's on trying to figure out if someone's extremely motivated, I talked about the 5 Ds that we had from the first episode, the first lesson. You're trying to target people from those 5 Ds that have not listed their property on sale yet. So yes, they're still a motivated seller, but if they've already gone through the hoopla of getting an agent and listing the house, you're not going to get that much value of it. You still can, but getting someone before they list their house will always, more often than not, provide a lot more dividends, which is the minimum acceptable profit, $20,000 there. What happens if you only want to get $5,000 on off-market property? That you can get as little or as much as you want, as long as you find a cash buyer for it. And there's no wrong to that either. It's not something where, well, I don't want to buy a house for $100,000 and then tell the cash buyer it's $200,000. If the cash buyer is going to pay $200,000 for the house, sell the house to him for $200,000, and then that means you have a $100,000 assignment there. Is that possible? In theory. Doesn't happen that often, but it can. Foreclosures. If you're going to be flipping a house and you get a house in foreclosure, because they're so motivated, because of the situation, if you get a house in pre-foreclosure or even a house in foreclosure where the bank's like, the bank's already foreclosed on it, and they're like, we don't want this, we want to sell this. You get an extremely discounted rate. When you rehab the house and flip it, you should be expecting around the 40K range. Now, if you're getting a house that is just needs TLC out the wazoo, and there's so much needs to be done with it, I put 80,000 here, but that's actually pretty high for a number there. Fix and flip, in my mind, I feel like my minimum acceptable profit is 35. It's a lot lower than that, but there's a lot of people out there. It depends on your market as well. If you're in LA, yeah, you probably want to be around the 80K minimum range. It all depends on your market. For me, in my market, if I can fix and flip a house at 35, then I'm good. But you have to figure out. So these numbers aren't set in stone. These are things you have to have in the back of your head when you're calculating your numbers before you even send out to cash buyer. Okay, if I get this offer accepted on this house, what's the minimum amount that I can make on this house to be happy? And then you add those numbers to it, and then that's what you send to the cash buyer list that you put together. So if I want to make $20,000 on this house, if I buy for $100,000, then I know I'm going to be targeting cash buyers that'll pay $120,000 for this house, or get a house that'll be worth $120,000 to them. Granted, they still have to rehab it and everything like that. So hopefully that made sense. Hoping. I think it did. It should. If not, of course, like I said, you can just reach out. But moving on to the next spot here, 2 types of mindsets. Someone who has a consumer mindset always thinks about everything. What does this cost me? Okay, well, if I'm going to do this, okay, what was it going to cost me? Well, if I'm going to do this, what's it going to cost me? An investor always has the mindset of what is this going to make me? So it could be, I'm trying to use an example that would work for both ways. And the first thing that came to my head was like traveling. A consumer would be, okay, how much is this vacation going to cost me? And then the investor would be, okay, what is this going to make me? If I travel to so-and-so, is there going to be, am I traveling to, actually, let's not use travel. Let me do that again. So this next one here is 2 types of mindsets. So a consumer has a mindset always of, well, what is this going to cost me? The investor has a mindset of, what is this going to make me? So if you think about a conference, for example, even a real estate investor conference, and you go to this large event, let's say the ticket price to get in the door is $1,000. Consumer, oh man, this is going to cost $1,000. The investor's not thinking about the $1,000 entry ticket to get in the convention. They're thinking about, what is this going to make me? How many people are going to network there? Am I going to network with there? How many, how many this am I going to meet up? How many of that going to meet up? How many more people do I add to my power team? So this next one here is 2 types of mindsets, consumer versus investor. So the consumer always has a mindset of, how much is this going to cost? The investor, how much is this going to make me? So an example that comes to my mind is like a convention, even a real estate convention. Consumer, let's say there's a $1,000 ticket to get into this massive convention of all of these other, flippers and real estate investors, wholesalers, and everything under the sun. $1,000 price tag to get in. Consumer, oh man, that's $1,000. That's a lot of money there. The investor's not thinking about that ticket price. He's like, wait a second. Look at all the people here I can meet up with, all the cash buyers or wholesalers or everything under the sun, GCs, general contractors, subcontractors, hard money lenders, all the people that you can add to your power team and in your network list. That's what they're thinking about. What does this make me? How much more profitable will I be about going to this and meeting all these people here and networking with all these people? So that's kind of the mindset you want to have if you're going to be an investor. What is this going to make me? Not what is it going to cost me? So that is the end of lesson 2. I did tell you it was going to be pretty short at the beginning, but those are the basics of funding when you are in real estate. See you in lesson 3. Hey, welcome back. This is lesson 3, analyzing a wholesale deal. Now, I did mention this in the first lesson where I did the number background here at the intro screen, because this is all about numbers, and we're going to go even more into the number side of things for lesson 3. So let's get right to it. So first things first, in lesson 3, you got to learn your maximum allowable offer, your MAO. Well, what does this mean? When you are putting offers out as a wholesaler on properties to try to get them under contract, you need to know what is the most you can offer on a house for you to make money and for it to have enough juice or enough profit for the cash buyer, your investor, to make money as well. Because if you're just putting offers out there, tacking a $5,000, $10,000 assignment fee on top of that, and just spitting it out to your cash buyers list, but you're not doing the math on their end, you're probably more than likely going to run into a situation where none of them are going to be interested. And all you're doing is wasting your time putting offers on houses that nobody buys, and you're making $0 for all your time you put in. So make sure that you know how to correctly calculate the ARV, which we'll go through at the end of this lesson. The ARV is the after repair value. This is what the property sells at after the cash buyer buys it, rehabs it, puts it on the market once it's all, all spiffy, all new. The ARV is that sell price. You can calculate that by using other properties around the area that are similar in size and similar in bed, bath, and all that other stuff. But like I said, we're going to go into that at the end of this lesson. The cash buyer price you have to learn as well. What is the cash buyer price? That is what percent of the ARV, which is what we just talked about, what percent of that the cash buyer, your investor, buys a property at. We'll get to an example here shortly, so don't worry. The rehab budget as well is part of the cash buyer price. That's how much it's going to cost to fix the property to get it to the ARV, and then your profit is your assignment fee. Your how much money you're making for doing this. Do you want to make $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000? You have to make sure you have all of that included because that's going to calculate your maximum allowable offer here. Here's an example. I know you were looking for one. So ARV in this example is $320,000. So we've looked at all the comps based on all the houses in the area that have sold. Our example property, once it's all rehabbed and fixed and looking brand spanking new, it's going to sell for $320,000. Okay, but what is 75% of $320,000? You don't have to do the math. Did it right for you. $240,000. That is the cash. If your cash buyer price, if your cash buyer only buys properties at 75% ARV, that means that they are going to be all in on this property at $240,000 because that gives them an $80,000 profit margin. So if there are things that happen outside of what you are suggesting is the rehab, maybe they realize the foundation's horrible and have to put more money into it, they still have $80,000 from their all in to the potential sale price. The rehab you're going to say is about $50,000. How much do you want to make on this for being the wholesaler? I'll make $10,000 for my assignment fee for finding the property for an investor. Okay, so let's do the math here. Let's start from the bottom. If my maximum allowable offer is $180,000 and I want to make $10,000 on this property as the wholesaler, how much from just the property in itself is the cash buyer, is the investor paying for this property? They're paying $190,000. If they pay $180,000, which is what you put your offer in and got accepted on, then you're not making any money. So make sure you always tack on your assignment fee when you're putting the offer out to the cash buyers that you've acquired on your list. So the house is $190,000 for you to buy it from me. $190,000. Okay, I'm kind of estimating here, rough estimate on the rehab, $50,000 in rehab. So $190,000, tack on the $50,000, that is $240,000, and that the collective number of the rehab plus the purchase price is what the cash buyers, the investors look at when they're trying to determine if it's worth it for them or not. And 75% is kind of my mental standard. Some people, you have to talk to your cash buyers when you're qualifying them to be on your list. Do they do 80%? Are they only 70%? You can kind of figure it out. Maybe they don't even do percentages. They just say, I don't care what the percentage is. I just want to make $50,000 minimum on the property. Okay, well, you can do the math just by saying, okay, if the ARV is $320,000, this guy wants to make at least a $50,000. Well, then my cash buyer price is $270,000. So then you can do the math and you can take away the numbers to see what your maximum allowable offer is. See what's the most they will pay for a property, or what's the least amount in terms of percentage of ARV. What is the least amount of profit they want? You can ask them any kind of way, but just using cash buyer price, which is just the percentage of ARV in this example. 75% of $320,000 is $240,000. If it's $50,000 rehab, that's $190,000 left. If I want to make $10,000 on it, that's $108,000. This is my maximum allowable offer. Now, this is maximum allowable offer. This is the most that I can offer on this house. If I put a $180,000 offer, they say no, it's not meant for you. Unless you would take a $5,000 profit. The only number that can change here is your profit. You can't change around the cash buyer price. You can't move around the rehab numbers. The only number that you can change is your profit. So if you put an offer in of $180,000 and they say no, then you're going to have to change your profit if you still want to try to get this house. Instead of getting 10,000, let's move it to 5,000. Okay, you didn't say yes to 180,000. I'll pay $185,000 for this property. Maybe they'll say yes. If they still say no, then the only number you can change is your profit margin. So if you go from 5,000, maybe you can go to 4,000 and say, what if I throw another 1,000 in there? Then you're just, kind of toying around with them at that point. But 180,000 in this example is the maximum allowable offer. And the last thing I want to mention here, you don't have to start with this number when you're putting an offer in on a property. Depending on the situation, depending if you're doing an on-market, off-market property, you don't want to put a number so low that it's insulting where they won't even reply to you. So maybe you'll do 165,000 and they say, no, I want 200,000. And then you can meet them in the middle, which in your mind, you already knew that you're putting 180,000 on this house, but you start lower, have them counter higher, and then meet them in the middle by going to 180,000. Like, okay, I'll do 180,000. And on that counter to the counter, sometimes that psychological warfare there will get them to say yes. But that is the maximum allowable offer. That is how you calculate what is the most I can offer on a property. Because if you are simply buying houses or putting offer on houses and tacking on that wholesaling fee and not doing the math of the rehab or what the cash buyer's profit margin would be, nobody's going to buy the property from you and you're just wasting your time. It's very simple. You have to just gather the data of a property. Gather all the data possible, the comps, I have it on here, the county records, everything. Just gather all the information for a single property, process it. Does this make sense? Can I make money off of this? Can a cash buyer make money off of this? How much money can I make off of this? How much money can they make off of this? Do the maximum allowable offer. And if it makes sense, you make a decision. Yes, I'll put an offer on this house, or no, there's not enough in it for it to make sense for me to put an offer on this house, and then just move on to the next one. Gather data, process data, make a decision. You can find data information that will help you on county records, on Zillow. Please don't use the Zestimate as the value of the house. Make sure you're doing your own due diligence in terms of finding comps. You can use that to just have in the back of your mind, like, oh, looks like this house would be worth this, so maybe I'll do this. Just make sure that you're doing research beyond relying on this estimate. It is it's not the worst formula for determining value, but it's not the most accurate all the time. You can look at the county assessor for record information as well, and then just ask a real estate agent for a CMA. So a CMA stands for a comparable market analysis. It's them sending all this information of, based on this house you're looking at, here are the 6 most likely comps, or here's the 6 nearest comps based on the size and the square footage and the bed bathroom breakdown, everything like that, and the year built. And this is what they've sold for. These are the pending ones. These are the ones that are still on market to be sold. Do not just find a house and then ask a real estate agent for a CMA. Like, they'll be able to tell if you're doing your own due diligence and you're just asking that for to back up your numbers. But if they realize that you're just lazy finding a house and just saying, can you send me a CMA on this? Can you send me a CMA on this? Depending on how close you are with them, you better be buddy at that point. Because if you're not, they'll be like, listen, I'm not wasting my time with you anymore. I've given you 10 CMAs and you haven't even put an offer in on the one property. So make sure that you are doing your own due diligence. You can ask a real estate agent for one of those CMA reports on a specific property, just to kind of back up the numbers of what you were looking at. The offer acceptance ratio. 100 offers you put in on 100 different properties. 100 different properties, 100 offers put in. Out of all of those, only 4 are accepted. 4 of these are accepted. So, of course, mathematically, that means 96 of your 100 offers are not accepted. They are turned down by the seller. But 4 are accepted. That ratio is 25-1. That is the target ratio of wholesaling. 25-1. So if you put 100 offers in, 4 accepted, that means you have a 25-1 ratio. So let's go more into that. If you put 1,000 offers on the 1,000 different properties, 40 are accepted, that's a 25-1 ratio. So when you are if you put 10 offers on houses and none of them are accepted, you should, in theory, hopefully, depending on as long as you're doing the MAO and you're doing your due diligence in all the other areas, you should hopefully at least one of them accepted. But if you put 25 offers in, in theory, by this golden ratio, only one's going to get accepted, which is kind of the ratio that you want to get to. So do not get disheartened if you put a few offers and none of them get accepted. You have to do a lot of work to make wholesaling successful. This is not something you just send an offer out and then hope it gets accepted so you can get a cash buyer to pay for it or buy it, and you get $5,000-$10,000 plus from it. There's a lot of work that goes in here. You put a lot of offers in. But let's do some math. What does this ratio mean? It depends on how much money you want to make from wholesaling. If you do everything you're supposed to do wholesaling, and you'll hit this ratio because of it, how much money can you expect to make? It all depends on how much you want to make. So let's just do, let's say in a single year, let's say you're very busy, you're 95. At a single year, you put 100 offers on a house, or 100 offers on 100 different properties in an entire calendar year. 4 of them are accepted. Over the course of the entire year, you're looking at all these different places, putting all these offers in. 4 in the entire year are accepted. Let's say they're all on-market properties, and you have a $5,000 wholesale fee on each one every single one that's accepted. And let's say that you do your job right, you do your numbers right, make sure you know the cash buyer price, and you have all the information. So once you get under contract, there's going to be so many cash buyers that you've already added to your list, which is something you should definitely do before putting offers in. You should have people that do flips, or else you're just getting a house under contract and not having anybody to tell about it. Let's say all 4 of those are accepted offers, that then you have cash buyers that are buying every single one of them. So in a calendar year, you've put 100 offers on 100 different properties, only 4 accepted. So 96 offers in a year out of 100 are not accepted. And all 4 of those are purchased by cash buyers. And you get a $5,000 assignment fee. That's $20,000 extra in a month for just putting 100 offers in, which is it's not even 10 offers a month. Not even that. So do you want an extra $20,000 a year? Do you want extra $20,000 a month? Well, how do I get extra $20,000 a month? You just told me a year. Put 100 offers in on a month, but don't just put offers out to, that's about a 25 offer a week rate there. So this is going to be your full-time gig at that point if you're putting 100 offers in a month. Not saying it's impossible. People do that. But if you get an extra $20,000, or not even extra, because at that point it's a full-time job. If you do $20,000 a month, are you going to be happy? Yeah, I'm pretty sure nobody's going to say no to that. 25 offers a week, 100 offers a month, 4 accepted, 25-to-1 ratio. Hopefully all 4 get bought by cash buyers, by investors. Boom, $20,000. And that's at the minimum, the $5,000 minimum on-market wholesaling target assignment fee that you're trying to add that we talked about in a previous lesson. So that's that. That is, it's just, you have to put a lot of offers in. And you don't just put offers in. If you just put 100 offers in and you get 0 accepted, and you come back and say, Travis, well, you told me I put 100 in and we get 4 accepted. I'm going to go back and be like, did you do all of these things? What was the profit margin for all the cash buyers? Oh, but the profit margin was, this much. Okay. How many cash buyers did you send it out to? Oh, I sent it out to 5. No, you got to continuously work to build that cash buyer list. So by the time that you have a property, there's 200, 300 people opening up your email saying like, oh man, I hope this is another great one from Travis or whoever it is. Okay, so ABC grading is what we're going to now. ABC grading is how we grade if a property is worth our time or not. It's the easiest way to go from not knowing anything to looking at a property to determining, okay, I'm going to look more into this property. ABC grading. Is the property vacant? Is there anyone that lives there or resides in the property? No, it's vacant. They get a point. That property gets a point. Does it need work? Does it need updating? Can you clearly see it's going to be needing work? Maybe there's holes in the wall, or it looks like it's stuck in the 60s. It's going to need updating, going to need work. 1 point. Is the seller motivated? Is there, like I said, you don't want to target the people that just want to sell their house. Make sure that there's a situation that they need to sell their house. That's another point. How do we know if it's vacant? If you're looking at on-market properties, then you can look at on-market properties, and typically they'll say vacant in the listing of the MLS or on Realtor.com or on Zillow, wherever it's listed for sale. Sometimes it'll say vacant. Sometimes it'll say needs work. It'll say needs TLC, needs updating, rehab, motivated seller. Sometimes they'll even actually put motivated seller in the listing because selling agents know that investors are going to search for that term specifically. But you can determine that as well by doing your own research. But if it's an A, which means it has 3 points, which is a point from each of those are the ones you want to target. Target the A houses. Bs, I mean, if you're not finding any A houses whatsoever, you can target Bs, but never target Cs. Do not target Cs. If it is vacant, but it doesn't need work and they're not motivated, it doesn't matter. If they're a motivated seller, but it doesn't need any work, it doesn't really matter because there wouldn't be enough profit margin for a cash buyer to buy it off of you. Visual rehab assessment. Let's say you're starting out on wholesaling, which you are because you bought a course for wholesaling for beginners. So I'm assuming you're relatively new at this, if not brand spanking new, and you don't know how to calculate the rehab budget. So when you send your email out to your cash buyer list, you don't want to just say, "Oh, it's going to be about $50,000 in rehab." It's like, okay, well, what's included? Like, what am I paying $50,000 on to fix? And you're like, and you're going to get caught in a lie that you just threw out a number there. Don't just throw out a number there. If you don't know how to calculate what costs what and what the price is going to be when you're starting out, you'll get good at it where you'll see other properties and you'll see things and you can keep talking to other investors to kind of get a better idea of what does it cost to remodel a bathroom? Well, remodeling a bathroom typically about $5,000. Like, okay, so you start gathering this information in your mind where you can start actually calculating these in your email marketing blast you send out to your investor list. Before you can get to that point, though, I recommend at least putting something regarding the rehab. Don't put zero details about the rehab because you're not going to get anybody interested in replying to it or calling you up and asking you about this property you got under contract. Visual rehab assessment. Very simple. Just look at the pictures of the property or just look at the property. Does it need heavy rehab, moderate rehab, light, just simple minor cosmetics, or does it need like completely, gutted, like inside out, complete rehab from the bottom up? That's all you gotta do. Just put that in your email. It's a light rehab. They're gonna look at that and be like, okay, so minor cosmetic. It's a moderate. Okay, minor to major cosmetic. Heavy, major. You can be heavy, full, complete. It can be kind of toyed as being the same thing, but make sure you have at least one of these words if you're not going to do the math yourself, because no investor wants to see, buy this house for $100,000 and then nothing else detail-wise including there. So I told you we're going to talk about this, calculating ARVs. This calculating the maximum allowable offer and calculating ARV are the two, I believe, yes, the two most important things in wholesaling. So you have to look at the sold and the pendings. Do not look at the properties that are for sale. Somebody could have a house that's very similar to yours and it's being sold for $1 million, and your property you're hoping to get like a $200,000 ARV. Like, oh, I'm going to use this property as a comp. It's 5 doors down and being sold for $1 million. Just because it's being sold for $1 million doesn't mean it is going to be sold for $1 million. Only look at the properties where people have either already paid for them for the price or have committed to paying for them for the price, which is what pending is. Look at the area. Don't find a house that sold for $1 million 6 miles away. Nobody's going to care. Make sure it's area-wise. You're kind of looking for a half a mile radius. You could go up to a mile. It depends on the area. If you're like in the boonies, in an area where there's not much population, you could go further out than that. But if you're in a highly metropolitan area or highly I don't know the word I was looking for there. Highly populated. Yes, a highly populated area. Then yeah, just do like a half mile max. Size-wise, make sure it is matching the square footage as close as possible. If you are selling a 1,500 square foot property, do not look at properties that are 3,000 square foot. It is not the same. Bed and bath, if you're selling a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, do not have comps that are, this house sold for $1 million. Well, what was the bed bath? Oh, it was 5 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms. Well, no, not the same. And then also use a comparable market analysis from one of your real estate agent friends. You should be making friends with everybody in this industry, so hopefully you have at least one of them. Do your work, find your comps yourself, and then ask for a CMA to back up your numbers. So that is the end of lesson 3. I'll see you guys in the next lesson. Like I said, if you have any questions regarding anything in this specific lesson, do not hesitate to reach out to me, reinvestingtips@gmail.com, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Hey, welcome back. This is lesson 4, market and marketing. Let's get right to it. So first things first, you need to know your market analysis. If you find a property you like, well, what is the market of that area? Is it a good market? Is it a bad market? Some things to look into is the ADOM, average days on market. This is definitely something the cash buyers, your investors, are going to look into. Okay, so it makes sense. Looks like I can make some money here. But how often, how quickly are houses moving, being acquired in this market, in this area, in this half mile to a mile radius? If they look at it, the ADOM, and they see that properties, the average day on market for properties is like 50, 60 days, they're not going to touch a single property in that area if they know that they're going to have to just sit on this house or just hold on to the house for average of 60 days before somebody actually wants to buy the house after they rehab it, because then they have to lose all this money in holding cost and interest payments if they have a hard money loan. They want to know that they're in a market, in an area, a neighborhood, or whatever you want to call it, that has houses that move, that get acquired quickly. So they're not holding. So as soon as they're done fixing the property, they put it on the market and boom, it gets sold. That's what everybody wants. So look at the ADOM of the area. Find a house, look at its average days on market of that area. If it's really, really high, then you're probably not going to find a cash buyer that quickly that is interested in it. The Federal Reserve is also something to look into. Do they raise the rate? Do they keep the rate the same? Do they lower the rate? Well, what does it have to do with anything? If they lower the rate, it makes it, typically in a bad economy, they'll lower the rate, which increases the economy, the action in the economy, increases investments, and increases a lot of things. But that's something where right now, as I'm recording this, depending on when you're watching it, we're knee deep in the coronavirus. It's December 2020 right now, and the rate's been lowered. I think actually in March it was lowered to accommodate for all of the economic downfall, to increase the likelihood of the economy growing. They lowered the rate. If they raise the rate, a lot of people, it means the economy is fascinating and they want to make more money. The Federal Reserve wants to raise the rate, so people are going to be doing less. So if you see the Federal Reserve raise the market, or raise the rate, then you're not going to see as much action as when they lower the rate, because it's just gonna cost more on the everybody else's end. So there's two things to look into: average days on market and the Federal Reserve rate. Marketing for deals, two ways: marketing funnel to get deals from people selling them, and of course marketing funnels to get cash buyers to you. We'll talk about how to get cash buyers in another lesson, more in depth. Marketing funnel. So there's so many things you can do here. You can have something where you can put Craigslist, social media. Send people. You can find people that are in pre-foreclosure and send them, like a postcard in the mail saying, hey, like I don't know if you know this, but your credit score is going to tank when you hit foreclosure. Let me buy your house in all cash. Let me put an offer in. Let me know if you're interested. Call this number. There's so many things you can do. So when someone becomes, whether they already are a motivated seller or they become a motivated seller, they know. Let me call that guy Travis. Let me email that guy Travis, because I'm in a situation where I have to sell. Remember what we said in previous lessons. I have to sell this house. That is what you're looking for. I have to. Not I want to, not really I need to, I have to. If you have to sell this house, what do? Find someone who's going to buy the house. I remember Travis, sent me I saw something on Craigslist or Facebook or whatever, or YouTube, doesn't matter, where this guy buys houses all cash in the Central Florida area. Let me reach out to him and see if he can help me here. So there's so many things you can do to create a marketing funnel so people resonate in the back of their mind when they become, I have to, let me contact this guy. Or whether they already are, you can reach out to them. I have no idea why this just got warped. I think it's because I added so many things on this slide. Let me pull it over real quick. All right, so next one here, 20 ways to find wholesale deals. SEO, search engine optimization. You can use Google. There's actually a few things of that you can do, but Google, that just pretty much means Google in itself, where you can have people, when they search, you can write a blog. Like, let's say you have a site. This is just one example out of many for SEO. You can have a site, you write a blog saying how to sell your house in pre-foreclosure, or how to do this. So you create like a blog post that's how to, and you pick something that a motivated seller that I have to sell my house would ask Google to give them information on. So when they type that, how to sell my house in Orlando, how to sell my house in this zip code, how to sell my house in this state, or the more specific, the better. But you can just create these blog posts. So when people search for it, if your blog post is matching what they're searching for, I mean, it depends on the SEO of your entire site, but I mean, if you do it super specific, where somebody types in how to sell my house in pre-foreclosure in Orlando in 2020, like if you do it, like if you, that is the title of your blog post and somebody types that exact thing in, it's going to show up pretty high on the list there. So that's just one example. Facebook, you can have you can create a Facebook. I think I have one page that's a Facebook page and email. It's Travis Stops Foreclosures, because I would be buying houses that are in pre-foreclosure, so you don't take your credit, and then I sell them, of course, either flip them myself or sell them for assignment fee. Direct mail. If people, there are ways to search for people that are in in pre-foreclosure, so you can or people that are you can reach out to people who are in probate, which means they've inherited a house from someone who's passed away. There's so many different ways you can get access to from just county records of which probate kind of goes into that fifth one there. But yeah, you can send direct mail to them saying, hey, I'm sorry for your loss. If you need help, if you have a property that you're looking to sell, then I would be interested in assisting with that. Tax liens. Tax liens are a whole nother course in itself. But a tax lien, I'm trying to see how the easiest way to explain this would be, you have to pay taxes on properties. If you don't pay taxes on properties, then your house can have a lien on it, which then can go in foreclosure, and then people can, if somebody has a tax lien, somebody acquires a tax lien on a property, and they don't get paid for like a certain amount of years, depending on the state. This is a huge state-specific thing, which is I don't want to go into too much detail on. But if you have a tax certificate or for a tax lien for property A in whatever state, and it's a 3-year period of them having to pay their taxes and they don't, you can actually, with that tax certificate that you saying you have a tax, you're holding the tax lien for this property, you can actually put the property in foreclosure and foreclose upon it, and then you can acquire the property for pennies on the dollar. But we don't need to go into much detail there. You can find properties that are in code violation. You can look. That's another thing that has records online or somewhere you can research to find properties that have code violation, pre-foreclosure. Something else you can find, as I mentioned earlier, bandit signs. We'll go into that in another lesson. But bandit signs are those bright yellow things you see sticking out of the ground in every area when you're driving down the road. It'll say something along the lines of, fixer-upper, 3-2 fixer-upper, needs TLC, must sell, ASAP, and then a phone number there, which is, people are like, or that's actually, that bandit sign, sorry, that bandit sign would be to find a cash buyer. To find a wholesale deal, which is the slide we're on right now, would be to put something of, we buy houses all cash, call this number. Or I buy houses any condition, anything like that. That's somebody's like, man, I need to sell my house, and they're driving through. They're like, oh, I just found a phone number of a guy who will buy houses no matter the quality of the house. They'll pay for the all cash. Yeah, I'm gonna call that guy. That is how you find a wholesale deal with a bandit sign. Sponsorships. That's a pretty broad one too. I'm gonna go to the other ones real quick, so I don't spend too much time on this one slide here. Vacant home, of course. Vacant home, if you can find a home that's vacant, generally if somebody's not living in it, they're paying holding costs, they have to pay taxes on it, insurance on all the other stuff. So it can be vacant for a million different reasons, but that's something to target. Homes that have no one living in it. Software, there's software where you can find things I mentioned beforehand. You can find there's software that costs money, by the way, where you can find things that have a code violation, that are probate, tax liens, pre-foreclosure. There's software that has that. Bird dogs is something we're going to go to in a different, I think this is the lesson. We're going to bird dogs, but that's going to be a huge thing that you need to focus on. I'm not going to talk about that because we talk about it later on this lesson. Auctions, foreclosure auctions. You can go to auctions where they're selling houses at extremely discounted rates. Estate attorneys, you can call up estate attorneys, say, hey, is there any, if you have any house that's in probate, if you have anybody who's selling a house because someone died and they inherited it, can you let me know? I pay for houses all cash. So you can kind of befriend estate attorneys. So they will reach out to you when they're like, hey, I'm dealing with a client right now. They're trying to find someone to buy their house. I reached out to you because you told me to. Squeeze page is kind of having a page saying, it's kind of like a marketing page funnel where when somebody types, I need to sell my house quick, it'll be like, oh, hey, do you need to sell a house quick? Send me your email, send me information, and boom, I'll give you a call ASAP. So it's just kind of it's like an ad, but it's its own web page. Driving for dollars is something that is important as well. This is where you just drive around neighborhoods and look for distressed houses, look for vacant houses, look for sale by owner houses. You can just drive around and look for things. So just drive around and write down, this house looks like it might be vacant. And then you just write down the address, take some pictures of it, and then go home, open up your computer, and then do that research we already told you to do of finding out, okay, what would the ARV be of this? What is the average days on market? Do all of the research, all of those tools we taught you to see if it's worth your time, and then trying to contact the owners of that property as well. Newspaper, you can put things, classified ads in the newspaper. Are you looking to sell your home? I pay all cash. You can do things like that. An absentee owner is someone who owns a house but doesn't live in it. They live, maybe even in a different state. You can reach out to absentee owners and say, hey, I know that you reside in Georgia, but you own a house in Florida. If you don't want to pay if you don't want to pay the taxes and if you don't want the house anymore, I'd be willing to take it off your hands. MLS, which is where houses that are on market are being sold. You can look at the MLS or, like Zillow or Realtor, anything like that. I mean, MLS is like the main ones. You want to look at that for houses that are on market. And then Craigslist. People who don't want to deal with an agent and don't want to have to pay that commission and want to get as much money as possible on their property will put on Craigslist. They'll go to Craigslist and be like, hey, I'm trying to sell my house or trying to sell this house. And they'll put a price on there and you can go back and forth with them. It's kind of like a for sale by owner, but a little more sketchy. So there are 20 ways to find wholesale deals. Make sure you jot those down. You can pause the video and rewind if you still have not written all of those down. But those are the 20 ways. There's more ways than that, but those are the 20 ways to consider. All right, let me move this back now that the other slide was weird. All right, 3 items you need to start. A Google email, a Google voicemail, and MailChimp or something similar. Google email. Why do you need a Google email? You want to make sure that when you're putting things on social media, on whether it's YouTube or Craigslist, that you have an email people can send you an email to. You want to have its own email. So you have all of this marketing that you put out in the world going into this one email, not your personal email, just its own email. So, for example, I have a few of them, but you can do, if your name is Johnny, be like johnbuyshouses@gmail.com or johnstopsforeclosures@gmail.com. I'm sure both of those are taken, but that's kind of the concept we're talking about. Why do you want a Google voicemail? Well, a Google voicemail, you don't want to, there's a few reasons for this, but why I use a Google voicemail is when you don't want to put your personal phone number on a bandit sign. You don't want to put your personal phone number on Craigslist ads, on social media, public social media pages or groups or anything like that. So what you do is you get a Google voicemail, which is, if you don't know what that is, it's just a number. You can have it if you have a smartphone, which it's 2020, you should by now. You have an app, a Google Voice app, and you have to get this set up on your own. But it works as its own phone number. You associate it to your Google email, and it works as its own phone number. And so when somebody calls, it'll be attached to your number, and it'll say, hey, this is coming from a Google voicemail, or you can pull it up through Google voicemail, through Google Voice. And the purpose is that if you put your number on the side of the road, for example, on a bandit sign, you're probably gonna get some calls from some really sketchy people. You're never gonna pick up the phone when somebody calls you from your Google Voice number. Always let that go to voicemail. Don't worry about it. Always let it go to voicemail, and then you can listen to their voicemail, and then you can respond to that. Hey, I'm sorry I missed your call. And then whatever ad or whatever something they're calling from, you can go from there. But that is just so you don't have your personal number out all over the place. MailChimp, if you know what that is, it's a service where you can store a ton of emails. So all the cash buyers that are saying, add me to your cash buyer list. Cool. You go into MailChimp, the account you've created, and you add them. And so you can actually go into MailChimp later when you have a property under contract. You can build the email inside of MailChimp and click send all. And you can, like, if you want to send all, and you can send it to every single one of your emails in MailChimp, all your cash buyers. So if you have 1,000 cash buyers emails, you type in there, you make it all pretty. You have all the information in the email you want to, which we'll get to later in this lesson. And you just click send all. And then every single one of your cash buyers has your email of your property with all the information they need. So you definitely want to have that because it makes it easier to build an email and send an email. I think MailChimp at the moment, I think it's still free up to a certain, like up to 1,000 emails, I think. So if you have a large contact list of like 20,000 cash buyers, that's fantastic, but it's probably going to cost you some money just to have an account there. Moving on to the next one. Inbound marketing versus outbound marketing. So inbound marketing is where you have people that are, you're marketing to people who have a need already for you. Inbound marketing is where you have a need already, where somebody has a need already for you. So if you are marketing specifically to people in pre-foreclosure, that's inbound marketing. They already have a need for you, where if you like call someone and say, hey, like, I know you're in pre-foreclosure right now. I'm interested in buying your house all cash. So when somebody already has a need, that's inbound marketing, when you're marketing to that person. Outbound marketing is where you just put things out there. So in the case where someone eventually has a need, they know who to contact. So you put outbound marketing out there, maybe somebody drives by a bandit sign and they don't have any interest in selling their house, but they'll record your number because maybe they have a friend or someone else or anything like that who, 3 months down the road has to sell their house. So it's just, it's just, you need to know, okay, am I making this for people who have a need right now, or for making this just marketing in general, so in case somebody has a need down the road, they can reach out to me. Understand your customer as well. If you were talking to someone in pre-foreclosure, they are losing their house. They are losing a lot. They've probably already lost a lot to that point. They are fragile. They're probably emotional. They're very wary. They're very standoffish. They don't want to be had. They don't want... They know if somebody's going to call them and kind of try to get their house from them, they're probably going to try to pull the wool over their eyes. They're already standoffish in itself just because they're very in a very emotional state. When you talk to someone who's going through, just going back to our motivated seller, death, divorce, debt, these are all like life-altering things, and you have to talk to them that way. Don't call them and say, I'm so-and-so from so-and-so LLC. We are interested in buying your house all cash. Don't talk to them like that. They don't want to talk to a company. Just be yourself. Be average Joe. Talk to when you're talking to someone going through this life-altering situation. Just be like, hey, I understand that you're in this situation. The best I can do to help you in this situation would be to do X, Y, Z. Let me know if you're interested. I can, if you're interested, I can walk through the house. I can give you an offer right then and there, an all cash offer, and then and we just go from there. So just be very like, I don't know the word, it's tranquil, if you will. Don't talk to these people like you're this bazillion-dollar company, because they're gonna be like, oh, you're probably gonna try to give me the lowest, low ball offer possible. Just talk to them as a human being. And don't say like, I'm sorry for your. You could saying like there's a gray area of saying like, I'm sorry for your loss or something like that, because you don't want to, when you're talking to someone, you don't want to necessarily bring up the reason why they're in it. You just want, it's a gray area. I'll let you play around with that. 5 types of sellers. So if it's on the MLS, they're a seller who's selling through an agent. It's just an on-market property. A bank could be a seller. REO, if you see REO, it stands for real estate owned, which is a bank foreclosure. So banks will sell properties they've foreclosed upon. Federal, state, county foreclosures, auctions, and that's government-based. And then inherited. If somebody dies, you inherit a property, and that could be an estate or a trust. And then for sale by owner, someone is selling a property, but they're not going through an agent. So FSBO, which means they don't want to pay. They're doing their own thing. They don't need the MLS. They're confident that their house is going to sell without the assistance of a selling agent. Seller motivation. If someone's out of state, well, maybe they're motivated to sell a property in a state that they're not in. Someone's an absentee owner, like I mentioned before. If they live in Georgia and they own a house in Florida as well, well, maybe you can reach out to them and see if they want to sell it, because they are paying for these costs to have this property that it's not being used at all. Nobody's renting it, nothing. As is, if you ever see the word as is, that means they are saying the house is going to need help, and they know this house is going to need help. Same thing with needs TLC. So if you see those things, that means, hey, I'm not going to try to fix up this house. I need the money now. I'm not even going to try to make it pretty. Just give me the money now. Give me the money right now. As the quality of the house is, and then transfer business-wise. So if somebody gets a job, or their job they already have says, hey, you got to move, from the East Coast to the West Coast. Well, what happens with their house? Like, they're going to need to move relatively quickly. Crap, I got to sell my house. So if they're transferring, from Florida to California, and they got to sell their Florida house, that's going to be seller motivation there. Nothing as horrible has happened in their life. It could be an amazing situation that's happened in their life. Maybe they got a huge raise, a huge promotion. Now they got to move, across the country. Well, they're motivated to sell their house in Florida, so that's another option there. Join I don't know why I start with E there. Join an REIC, Real Estate Investor Club, or sometimes committee. I believe there has to be at least one of these in every state. I have not been in every state, so I don't know, but I'm definitely in one. I'm in the Central Florida Real Estate Investor, CFRI is what it's called. But join a real estate investor club. This is the easiest way for you to get not all of the knowledge, but a lot of the knowledge you need to succeed in this business. If you never want to flip houses and you only want to wholesale, well, how about you go to an investor meetup that's, sometimes once, twice, 3, 4 times a month, post COVID. Go to an investor meetup where there's investors. You need to build your cash buyers list. Go to Investor Club. There's tons of investors at these. If you're struggling to find people, meet people here. Be like, hey, it looks like you're interested in you flip houses. Is there any way I can get your contact information so next time I get a house under contract, I can send it right over to you? And they'd be like, sure. Or maybe they'd be like, no, thank you. I like to find my own stuff. Like, don't force them to give you an email, but that is the easiest way. I've been with one for like 2 or 3 years, and I've met a lot of people from them, and I actually work with a few of them that I've met from them as well. So definitely join one. Just if you're in whatever state, whatever city, if you're in Georgia, just Google Georgia REIC, or if you might even type in like Atlanta if that's your city, and just I'm sure they exist where you are. You just got to find one, but definitely join one. Go to the meetings. Some of them typically have a cost. I think mine's like $150 a year. It's well worth it. It's worth every penny. Join one. You have to have a social media account. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. If you are looking for people in general, go to where the people are. You can post about, if you're looking for cash buyers, you can post about things about, I have, properties that you have. Every time you get a property under contract, post pictures on Instagram about this property and about what the profit margin would be for the cash buyer. Use right hashtags and stuff like that. You can use these things to kind of build up your social footprint of what you do and everything like that. And then also for the it's pretty good marketing on the cash buyer side. It can work as well on the getting wholesale deals side, but typically if someone, not really on Instagram or LinkedIn, pretty much Facebook would be the spot to go for getting the motivated sellers. You can I have a page I think is like Travis Stops Foreclosures. And so I have that page. So if you type in, stop foreclosures and it's a locally based search, then maybe that page will pop up where they'll be like, oh, hey, I'm in pre-foreclosure. This guy's page is stop foreclosures. Let me contact him. So things like that. There we go. The bird dog. What is a bird dog? A bird dog is something that can make your wholesaling life a whole lot easier. A bird dog is someone who finds a property and says, hey, Travis, you should look into this property. And that's simple as that. They're the bird dog. They're the one that goes out and kind of keeps their eyes open, scouts everything. Build an army of these kind of scouts. 50 of them if you can. And the deal, which you can even sign a contract deal with them, like a written contract if they're not like a close acquaintance and they require one. This is what you say to them. Hey, John, looks like I wonder if you're interested in being a bird dog of mine. I know you constantly are around the area. Every time you tip me on a house that you drive by or that you find that looks like it's vacant or looks like XYZ. Let me know. If I acquire this property or get this property under contract and then wholesale it to a cash buyer, I'll give you $500 every time you do that. You don't have to do anything but tell me. Nothing you have to do, but just take pictures, know what to look for, give me the address, send me the information, and if I can turn it into a whole deal that I can wholesale and assign to someone else, I'll give you $500 every single time. By all you're doing is telling me to do things or tell me what to look at. Yeah, tell them what to look for. If the mail is coming out of the mailbox because it's so overstuffed, I mean, somebody hasn't been there in a while. The grass is completely overgrown. Maybe the grass is burnt. There's a tarp on the roof. The windows are boarded up. It's vacant. Maybe if you even see like a for sale by owner sign, knowing that they're not going through an agent or anything, maybe you can get the deal. You can get a deal that's a lot lower than what they're asking for. Maybe they don't know how to put a price tag on it, so they just put a random price. So there's so many different things like that. Just distressed property, vacant property. Just tell me if you drive by one of these, take pictures, write down the address, send me information. If I turn it into a deal that I actually profit on, you're gonna get $500 every time I do that. And this is something else, Uber and Lyft drivers. This is something that I do personally. And it can work out, it can't work out, but Uber and Lyft drivers are everywhere. Everywhere. They are always driving everywhere. If they're driving in the city that you want to acquire property knowledge on, this is what I do. And I'm not even joking. This is exactly what I do. Every single time I'm in an Uber or a Lyft, I have my business cards, which has my name, my email, my phone number. I think actually I put my Google Voice on there. Actually, I don't know if that's my personal. I think it's my Google Voice number. And it just says, I buy houses all cash. And, it's a very nice double-sided business card. And I have them always in my wallet where every time I'm in Uber, I go, hey, do you often drive around this area? If you're interested, I'm a real estate investor. I'm always looking for properties that are XYZ. Tell them what to look for. Can I give you my card? And then anytime you drive past one, just shoot me a text saying what the property address is, and then any information else, any other information, including any pictures you can take of it. And then every time I turn that into a deal, I'll give you $500. Uber, Lyft drivers don't make a ton of money. Even if they drive all the time, they don't make a ton of money. So if you offer them an easy way, it doesn't add anything. It adds them the need to contact you, but it doesn't really add any time onto their schedule. So if they're making, I don't know, let's just say they're making $500 a week, which is not the worst to make, but let's say they're making $500 a week, and you're telling them they can double that if they get you a deal, because you're getting $500 for the deal, then they're like, yeah, they're going to keep their eyes peeled. They're already driving around anyway. Give them the card. If you see something when you're driving around, even if it's the house of the person you pick up and it looks like the house needs tons of rehab, or you see all of these different things you tell them to look out for that I mentioned earlier, they're going to be like, oh, hey, let me write this down real quick. Hey, Travis, I know you told me to do this. Here's the address. I picked somebody up from here. It had a tarp on the roof, and it looked like it said like for sale by owner or whatever, all these other things. Cool, great. And then you just reach out to them, and do not get a bird dog and then not pay them. Do not do that, because there will always be bad karma. It's always going to backfire on you. If somebody drives around and let's say they're like 3-4 months later, they pick up somebody from the same house, the same neighborhood, and they see it's completely flipped and everything, they're going to know. They're going to know. And you're going to get crazy texts and emails from them for forever. So yeah, don't screw somebody else. If you're making $5,000 on the deal and it's a deal that you didn't even have to find, you just did your research on afterwards, that's $4,500 profit. All they're making is $500 off of it. It's worth paying them, because if you pay them, they're going to keep doing it. You want to keep them doing it. So after you've acquired a property under contract and put everybody in a MailChimp email blast, what is the email blast? What should it include? What are the items that the cash buyer, that your investors list see? All right, you want them to see there's ARV. What is the property going to sell for once I'm done with it? How much is this property going to cost me? How much rehab is going to needed to get this property to the ARV selling point? Do you have any comps? If you have comps, those are always huge. Even though the investors who are seasoned at this, which should be your entire buyer's list of those whales and not the mom and pops you mentioned earlier in the previous lesson, but they're going to do their own due diligence. But if you say, hey, look, like I got to this ARV, here are these best 3 comps, it could even motivate them further to look into it. Don't include the home address in the email. There are investors out there who will see the home address and they'll all try to undercut what you're doing. They'll be like, okay, this is a rookie wholesaler. He's not going to find a buyer for this. But now that I know, I can kind of guesstimate what his contract is. I can either go in and offer a different number where I don't have to pay him, but I can still make a huge profit on this, or I'll just wait till his contract expires and then I'll put in the same offer that he put in, and I don't have to pay his assignment fee. So there's a lot of gray area. A lot of sketchy things can happen there when you include the home address. So just if it's like 0000 Maple Street, just put in like Maple Street, Florida, and then put the zip code, but just keep that home number off. Just include the street and the zip code, because they can do their own research on the area based on that in itself, but don't include the home number, because I don't know, for several reasons, but that's one of them. Make sure you have pictures. Nobody cares if they can make $100,000 on the house if you don't have any pictures on it. Well, maybe if it's $100,000 they will, but always include pictures. And something else which is huge as well, as soon as you get a property under contract, even before you get under contract, you sometimes, if it's already something that's being sold, and you can like do a walkthrough before you put it under contract, sometimes you can include put it on YouTube, make a YouTube channel, put it on YouTube as an unlisted video, and include the link or the video in your email. So say, hey, here's some pics, but if you can't really tell the architecture of the house from the pics, here's me walking through the home. So you just have your phone out and just record. You're like, I'm walking to this bathroom, this, and just send that walkthrough video. I do walkthrough videos all the time, so make sure you do that. Pretty long lesson here. We had a lot to cover. Just about 30-something minutes there, but it was worth it. Hopefully we learned a lot here in lesson 4. We'll see you guys soon in lesson 5. Hey guys, welcome to lesson 5 here of Wholesaling for Beginners. This one is how to find or where to find cash buyers. I know I've mentioned this 1,000 times on the previous lessons. Make sure you have a cash buyer list set up before you bother putting offers on properties, because if one of your offers is accepted, but you have no one to tell about it or to send it to, then you just wasted your time. So let's go right into it here. The first thing is Craigslist. How do you find a cash buyer on Craigslist? Well, cash buyers are already looking at Craigslist for properties that are, as is, needs TLC, or people that are, for sale by owner, which that's, if you're on Craigslist, you are. So how do you find those people? You got to bait them. Put out a property that looks like it's a piece of trash, and as is, needs TLC property, horrible image, and have, needs TLC 3-2, must sell soon. And then in the subject, say, contact me here, put your Google Voice number that we told you to get there, and make me an offer or whatever. And so then when they call, or they send a text, or let's just say they call the number you left in the Craigslist, or they send you an email, you could say, which is the same thing with all of these, which is, hey, I actually don't have that property. The property already sold. However, I get properties like that all the time. I have a few properties coming in. Is there any way I can get your contact information, your best email? So then when I get another one, I'll send it right to you. So you're kind of just baiting them to reach out to you, which is the same thing with the bandit signs we talked about as well. You want to bait them into jumping on a investment property that you don't actually have. To build up your cash buyer list. LinkedIn, the same thing. LinkedIn is Facebook for business. So if it's people that LinkedIn, this is probably not accurate, but the average income of someone with a LinkedIn profile is much higher than someone with, on average than all the people with a Facebook profile, just because people already use that for business, for networking. So you can find people who have cash buying antics on LinkedIn. Network, as I mentioned, join a real estate investment club. Go to these things, network. You can go to a title company and say, hey, is there someone do you have a list of people who you're constantly buying properties, investment properties? Is there any way that, you can give them my information, or you can just use them as a source? And then real estate auctions as well. Where do cash buyers go to buy properties at a discounted rate by themselves? They go to auctions. If there's a foreclosure auction, or just any kind of county auction selling properties, it's going to be littered with cash buyers. They're literally standing there telling you, I'm here because I want to buy this property. The easiest thing. hey, somebody wins something from an auction. Hey, congratulations on that win there. Do you often buy properties like this? Because I often get properties like this. If I can possibly get your contact information, your best email, I'll send you the next one I get. Easiest way. They're already there. They're pretty much waving at you saying, hey, I buy properties to flip. And so you can just literally go to a real estate auction and network that way. Previous flips. You can look on Zillow, look on Redfin, look on Realtor. Just look at properties that are recently sold and they look like they're completely remodeled. Like they're sold recently and they look like it looks like a cash buyer did their work and made this thing brand spanking new looking. You can see the previous flip if it was sold by, or if it's currently for sale and it's owned by an LLC. If it's owned by an LLC and it's for sale, chances are it's a cash buyer and it's their LLC that has a property that fixed it and they're trying to sell it. So you scout properties that look like they have already been post-flip. They're either being sold or have sold. Look for the LLC ownership and then use, tax assessor, Secretary of State to figure out some kind of contact information, maybe even, first name or last name, phone number, email. Skip tracer, there's so many things out there software-wise where you can type in someone's email or someone's anything, and then it will tell you more often than not, hey, this is their first, last name, sometimes mailing address, all that kind of stuff. Those things, of course, the skip tracer kind of stuff costs money, but if you have their LLC title, you can go, like I said, you can use tax assessor. You can type in someone's LLC. So if it's, ABC LLC, type that in. Okay, who owns ABC LLC? All right, so this is the history that maybe you can get a phone number from it. You can type that into Skip Tracer. There's so many ways you can take an LLC and plug into all these things to try to see who owns this LLC and how can I get any bit of contact information. Maybe I only get their phone number. Maybe I only get their email. Get something so you can contact them and say, hey, I saw you sold a house here. It was amazing looking flip. I'm trying to think what to say here. You can say, like, I typically get properties that need to be rehabbed like this one under contract. Is there any way I get your contact information? Or is this the best contact information that I'm contacting you from it? So I can send you all of the ones I get in the future. So you can do that. Google Voice versus real cell number. I mentioned this in the previous lesson, but just to go over it. Let all Google Voice calls go to voicemail. Let's say you put something out, whether it's your Craigslist bait or your bandit sign, any of that stuff, and somebody's contacting you saying, I'm interested in the property you were advertising. Hey, sorry, that one's sold, but I often get deals like them. Let me get your best email, and I'll be sure to send you the next one I get ASAP. Google Voice is for marketing purposes. Everything you do marketing-wise, use your Google Voice. Once you have talked to someone who, after the initial intro, and you've talked to cash buyer, then you can give them your real cell. So you can be in constant contact with them if you want to, anyway. You can be like, hey, let me get your best email, and then after they call you directly, be like, hey, this is actually, let me give you, may have to give you a better number or whatever, so they can actually text you back and forth or call you back and forth in your real cell. That's an option, but don't bother giving anybody your real cell until cash buyers after you've already had the introduction and you guys are on the same page with what you're expecting out of your relationship. I already mentioned this in the last one. Just again, make sure you have a Google email specifically designed for your wholesaling work, your Google voicemail set up, and you have that MailChimp. So when you do get these cash buyers, you can add them to this MailChimp list. And here's a bandit sign. Like I said, the big yellow things. So some people put the phone number at the top. Some people put it at the bottom. You can do both. You can play around with it. I think I've done both as well. But big black lettering on this big yellow thing. Phone number, either top or bottom. 3-2 fixer upper. Needs TLC. Must sell. That is your cash buyer bait. Put that in areas around your city that you're looking to get properties in, so you can get people to call. And now it could be somebody. Now this is so public of marketing bait that you can get people calling you or texting you, and it's not the cash buyer you want. Maybe someone needs a house to live in, and they know this house is going to be cheap, so they're going to call you like, "Hey, I don't have that much money. I need a house to move into. Can you give me more details on it?" And be like, "Sorry, that one just sold." So you're still saying that it just sold because it's not a property you actually have. It's just the bait. But you're going to get people that are going to be contacting you that are interested, that are not cash buyers. So just make sure you're ready for that. We buy houses. You see this all over the place. You know, the WeBuyHouses.com, the We Buy Houses this. You can go to YouTube and just type in We Buy Houses, or for me, like Orlando or Central Florida, or We Buy Houses, whatever your area is, and people will have that like in their video, whether it's a tag or something, and you can find YouTube channels of investors saying, you know, hey, I'm literally telling you, I'm in your area, I buy houses. Here's some of the videos of the flips I've done and everything like that. So just type in We Buy Houses on YouTube with your area. Google search social media. You'll find pages with either it's in the name of the title of the page or it's somewhere in the tags of like the YouTube search stuff. But We Buy Houses, I Buy Houses. Just look for those kind of keyword terms and type in your area. And it's literally cash buyers. It's the same thing as the auction where they're waving at you saying, hey, I'm here because I buy houses. If they literally say We Buy Houses in the YouTube channel or in the videos or in Google search, you type in We Buy Houses with your zip code, and anybody in the zip code who has that associated to their web page or their business, it'll be tied into that as well. Just start playing around with it. You can say we, I, you can move those words around if you want to, and just all these different kind of phrases about surrounding the concept of We Buy Houses. YouTube, Google search, social media. You can play with that in other areas as well. But yeah, that is kind of the gist, the short and sweetness. I know this one's a lot shorter than the last lesson was, but those are the things you need to start attacking when it comes to getting a cash buyer. It's an easy concept, but you have to execute. You can't just, you know, send put a few bandit signs out, send, you know, some Craigslist post out, and, you know, just sit back and be like, okay, I'll wait for someone to contact me. No, join those real estate investor clubs. You know, go to where they are. I would recommend, business cards are very inexpensive. I would recommend getting the business card because that helps me out a lot as well. I just have a business card. It just says my name, my email, my contact information. It just says We Buy Houses. People know, oh yeah, this was the investor guy, the wholesaler guy, or whatever that I was talking to at that meeting. Just hand it to them. You can write a little note on there like, this is, if you met at a certain place at a certain date, you can write that on there so they know, what is this business card from? Oh yeah, it was that date that I went to that meeting. You can write that on there as well, little notes on the business card. But yeah, just have a business card, go to these meetings, meet these people. We'll see you guys for the final lesson, lesson 6. Hey guys, you made it, the final lesson. Congrats, we're almost to the finish line. This is finding investor-friendly realtors or real estate agents. So let's go right to it here. So how do you contact a real estate agent? You call them. If there's anybody that I see phone numbers for listed all over social media or just the internet in general, it's for real estate agents. It's so easy to find their contact information. So just, you know, search real estate agents and type in a zip code or type in a city, and you'll get a million different options there. So when you call them, you say you can find houses they've listed, or just you're just talking to them as a cash buyer. You are representing a cash buyer on this phone call. Hey, I saw the house you listed. Do you have any other listings like this? Can you, if you see them list a house that has like needs the TLC and is as is and is one of the houses that you would typically put an offer on, can you find other listings like this? You don't necessarily want to mention the term wholesale because there's so many people in the wholesale industry that have that aren't doing things the right way and frustrating realtors that if they have dealt with somebody who is a wholesaler, chances are they could possibly take that the wrong way. An example would be like if a wholesaler is making an agent do, you know, all of these CMAs, these comparable market analysis, and putting all these offers in because they're miscalculated offers, but they're just putting them in, hoping that they get accepted, even though the wholesaler has no idea what they're doing when they're putting the offers in. And they're spending all this time over the course of like a month, 3 months, a year with this wholesaler, and they've not made a single penny from it because no offer is being accepted, or they don't have any cash buyers, and it's frustrating for them. They feel like they're working for free and nothing's coming from it. So just when you're on the initial phone call anyway, act as if you are the cash buyer. Hey, I'm an investor in the area. I'm looking for properties in need of rehab for motivated sellers. Is there any way, are you someone who can send me, you know, listings that match my qualifications, that match my interest? And you want to try to get listings emailed to you. You need to set up an email just for this because you'll get emails every single day from the people you set up for. But say, hey, I'm looking for 20 to 30 listings. Can you send me you either daily, weekly email blast of 20 to 30 properties that meet XYZ. Maybe you only want to have houses that are listed for sale at $150,000 or less, but you don't want houses that are being sold for $40,000 that are, just complete junk. So maybe you do like 75,000, 150,000. I only want single family residents. I don't care about duplexes or triplexes or multifamily. I just want the 3-2s or maybe even the 3-1. And so you just set up all these things of what you're looking for that you think that your cash buyers list that hopefully you've acquired by now, you want to know what they want. If you have a cash buyers list full of people who only want single family residents, properties and not, commercial or multifamily, then that's what you want to get emailed to you. If you have an entire cash buyers list that say, no, I only care about duplexes and triplexes because I want to rent them out, then tell the realtor, hey, try to only send me triplexes and duplexes and multifamily properties. Say, hey, I'm looking to make 5 to 10 offers in the next week. So let them know that you're being active. You don't just want email listings sent to you. I'm looking to make 5 to 10 offers in the next week. Can you send me 20 to 30 listings? And then also follow up by saying, hey, if I find something I'd like, are you free to show me it? Because if it's on market, the realtor will have access to it and they can do like a walkthrough. Even if it's not vacant, they can still set something up. But like, hey, if I find something, are you free to show me it on X day? So if you're calling them on on a Saturday, hey, if I find something, are you free to show me it next Tuesday? If you send me the list like tonight, if I find something, can you show me it in the next couple days? And like I said, price range and key terms. I'm looking for properties that are price reduced, which is something that'll pop out. It'll say they've reduced the price. They put it up at $100,000. Now it's only at $97,000. What does that tell you? They're motivated to sell it, so they're going to be taking less money than what they wanted originally. Is the word as is popping up in the description? Is the word needs TLC, handyman, any of those key motivated seller terms that this house is going to need some work? If those pop up, I want those properties sent to me. And like I said, if you want a price range, depending on where your cash buyers are interested in, maybe you have cash buyers that are only interested in $600,000 houses. Well, have a price range of that if that's what your cash buyers list is. You have to talk to your cash buyers. Don't just add them on a list and call it a day. Know what they're looking for, so when you find something they're looking for, it's easier for them to say yes. If they're only interested in $400,000 houses and higher, they rehab them and then they sell them for $600,000, but you're sending them $150,000 houses that can sell for like $200,000 when they're done. They don't care. Make sure you know what they want, so you know what to ask for the listings from your realtors. Price range and key terms. On your potential calls, these are questions that you can possibly be getting from the realtors. You may not get any questions. They may be like, sure, yeah, I'll do it, but they may have some questions to kind of figure out if you are like a day one person, because they don't want to deal with the day one people, even if you are a day one person. So like, what company you're with, you should have your LLC set up right now. So I'm with I'm with Wholesale LLC, or this is my own LLC. Excuse me. You can have, how many deals have you done? You could say I'm new to this area. I haven't done any deals in this area. So I'm relatively new to this area, so I haven't done any deals in this area. Which, even if you haven't done deals ever, that still makes it sound like you may have possibly have done deals in some other market, but now you're new to this market. I haven't done any deals here yet. And they say, how are you going to pay for this? And you would say, I'm paying in all cash. I'll be paying for the properties in all cash, because that's what your contracts will be structured as when you're putting offers on houses, that you're paying all cash, because the cash buyer you find, they're going to be paying all cash. When you tell someone, if you're putting like $100,000 offer on a house and you're saying I'm paying in all cash, and somebody comes in and puts a $110,000 offer on a house, but they're doing traditional funding through like a bank mortgage, what are you going to go with? You're going to go through the bank, of the hassle of dealing with the bank if they're getting approved and all this XYZ stuff, or are you going to go with the guy giving you $10,000 less but paying you a little bag of cash full of $100,000? You're going to go with all cash. So there's ways to get around to beat out the other people who aren't doing that by just saying you're getting all cash, because that's what you're doing. You're giving them an all cash offer. Do you have any POF, proof of funds? So proof of funds is showing that you have enough money to, when you put an offer on a house, you put a proof of funds that, like, I'm not just offering $100,000 on this house. I actually have $100,000. What happens if you don't have $100,000? There are sites you can go to. There's some of them even cost like a subscription, whatever, where they'll print out a proof of funds for you, where it'll say, you type in your LLC, you type in the address of the property you're putting an offer on, and you type in what the proof of funds needs to be. Now, what you don't want to do when you're using these kinds of softwares, and I don't have the names off the top of my head because I use someone else that is local based market, but you don't put $1 million that you have $1 million in your bank. So if you're able to type any kind of number in these kind of things, do not put you have $1 million in your bank, because what happens if you're offering $100,000 on a house and you're saying I have $1 million? The owner's gonna be like, no, I want 200,000. It's not gonna bother you. You have $1 million. Only put the amount needed to buy the house. If you're offering $100,000 to buy this person's house, your proof of funds $100,000. Can he afford 100,000 price? Yes, he has 100,000. How fast can you close? So you say you can close within within 2 weeks you can close. So some people will be it'll take me a couple months to get everything together. No, I can close in 2 weeks. You have that time to find a cash buyer, and a cash buyer is they have the money, so they're ready to buy then and there. And so so kind of 2-3 weeks max. How fast can you close? They might, this has never happened to me, but they might ask, will you sign an exclusive contract? So if I help you out with your investment, you can only use me as an agent. No. You could say something along the lines of, you have to take me to dinner first before I get into bed with you, or something cliche like that. But yeah, no. If you've done tons of work with them and you've made a lot of money together, sure. But right off the bat, if that's the initial question, it's like, no, I will not sign an exclusive contract. After we do a few deals, we can rediscuss that as a possibility.